Dr. Jazz.
I'm in Slovenia.
Slovenia.
Yeah, you ever been here? Like,
Oh yeah,
you played here? Really? Huh? I didn't know that. Wow.
we played in what's the capital?
Probably Ljubljana, right? Yeah, you played in
Played in
Ljubljana.
Ljubljana, and then in another. We were just
Probably Cerkno. You probably did the festival in Cerkno.
yeah with Human Feel, and then
Oh.
last year we were going from I guess Austria to Italy, and we drove through Slovenia. And had
Yeah.
a great trip.
Yeah.
And man, we stopped on this roadside. Like for Americans, they don't understand because when you're I don't know if you've toured around America.
Yeah,
or whatever,
sure.
but
Yeah, a little, yeah.
you know when you stop in Slovenia or Italy or really anywhere in Europe, and you go to a roadside stop, it's like fucking amazing
I know.
food.
Yeah.
And you know it was noon, but they're like, "Would you like some wine?" And we're like, "Yeah, why not?" And it was really fun. It's a great country. But the driving thing is fucking crazy there.
Seriously? Well, why? No.
But
You mean, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fast. You know, it's just, yeah, in the States, it's like, 70 miles, and here it's 110 or something. I don't know.
Well, I know our driver reacted the same way. I was like, "Are you kind of driving fast?" He goes, "No problem."
Exactly.
Right. And like, "Well, what if we die?" And he's like, No. He's like driving fucking 150 miles an hour,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
"It's no problem." And we're all like, okay, all right. Anyway, beautiful country. I mean, I recently started eating meat again, so I had, I don't know, some kind of like beef stew or maybe ox stew.
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, it was so fucking. It tasted like somebody's mom made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
the
good.
quality of living is quite cool. Like many times I bring players from the States here that we tour. Like last year, I think, no, that's 2019. We did a tour with Tony Malby in trio, and he came over to Maribor where I live like 2 days before, and I brought him to some really cool restaurants, and he was just like, "Man, fuck it, man, what is this?" Just like making pictures of food and beer and all that. It's like
We were in. I was in Italy with. In Argentina with Tony Malaby, and he ordered the Argentinian steak, which is like you just held your hand like that. I mean, it was really that thick. And I looked at Tony, and I was like, "How's the steak?" He goes, "It's fucking unbelievable, man." But wait, I got a great anecdote. So we're in Slovenia. We're at this roadside stop that our driver goes, "No, we have to go here. This is like the best chef, on the roads, whatever." And I asked them, is this grass-fed, beef or again ox or whatever? He's like, "What?" I said, "Is it organic or whatever?" He goes, "I don't know. It's just, they grew it over there,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. America's a little weird that way, like it grows way over on the other side of the country, and then they package it and ship it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's different. Well, but yeah, I'm not complaining, knock on wood. So.
Yeah, we could complain the whole fucking. That wasn't a complaint. That was a compliment to your country.
Oh, thank you very much.
That was not a complaint, everybody.
No.
I'm saying.
No, I'm saying I'm not complaining that that I'm here. Yeah.
Right, okay.
It's all cool.
You could have Donald Trump, man. You're really missing out on the whole thing.
Well, his wife is from Slovenia, so it's
right. And notice how we haven't really heard from her in like 4 years, right? She's like kind of not really a part of this. But
I will not drive there. you will not lead me there.
Right. Okay.
But no, thanks, man, so much for taking the time, and
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Samo.
You're on the other side now, so that's cool.
I know I just got into negotiations with my podcast. There's a broadcast that wants to pick it up. So
Oh, wow, that's super cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
Death in the Family, and then maybe possibly my podcast is going to be published. So with the broadcast network. So yeah, it's good stuff. That's all I'll say about it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, but come on, it's good that you're doing this. I mean, it's at least for me, I always love listening to interviews with creative people. I think it's, I hope there's a lot of people out there who also enjoy that. So also listen. Now, you being on the other side, and you've done so much work, and I've been listening to your music since Skadra Degis, which was like 2007.
1933, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird. Some of my friends, when I'm talking to them, like I had Reed Anderson on, J.D. Allen,
Yeah,
the saxophonist, Bill McHenry,
Eric Revis, right?
yeah, and I'm like, how long have we known each other? And everybody goes, I said, can we just say from the 1900s? And they're like, yeah, that works.
No, but it's true. I've spoken to Mark Elias about that, and with so many guys, and it's funny. Like now we're talking about, let's say, when I don't know, you guys with Human Feel began 1992, which is 30 years ago, and this is basically like if you lived in 1986. 30 years ago would be Elvis Presley. So
yeah, right.
It's like, wait a second, this is,
right.
And for me, it feels like yesterday, it's like Nirvana came out and it's like Nevermind and stuff. It feels, I don't know, Alice in Chains is still, Dirt is my favorite album of all time still. And it feels like yesterday still. And now I realize, wait a second, this is history already, music history. So
right. I'm sure you got the 1992 number from Jim Black, or I don't know if you've had Chris Speed on. I know you had.
No, just Jim. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually 1989, but whatever.
No, that the first album you guys did, the Scatter, right? No, Welcome to Malpasinga.
No, the first Malpasinga. The first record we did, I produced. It was 1992. It was just homonymous. What's that word? When you name it after.
Homonym. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. That. Yeah.
Welcome to two guys who can't talk on this podcast. Eponymous. That's
yeah.
the word.
Okay.
All right, because all I could think about was masturbate. So anyway, we put out the eponymously titled Human Feel record in 1992, which I produced, and but the band has been together since '89, and then Jim Black, Chris Speed, and myself have known each other since we were like 10 or something.
Yeah.
And we all hate but love each other too. So there's that.
There is that. Okay. I want to return to these guys, but first I want to touch the last record I listened, which is basically like finally you did it, the DNA Orchestra, and it's crazy. I love this music because it's like a big band on steroids, and the arrangements you did, and it's basically you, but with all these amazing players and really good arrangements and writing, basically older tunes. And I wanted to ask you, how did you first get this band together, all the guys in it? I mean, you've played with all of them for such a long time, probably. And how did you perceive the process behind the arranging it? I mean, for such a big beast.
Right. I have two answers to that question. First of all, thank you for the compliments. I appreciate it. I'm very happy that the record was finally released. But at that time, I had brain cancer.
I know that story. Yeah, I didn't want to touch it since I don't know if you still want to talk about that. But
you have to talk about it because the reality is that you and I could talk about Jim, Chris, Kurt, and Human Feel, and sure, there might be 25,000 people or 100,000 people that know what we're talking about. But the reality is, what is going to bring people in, to this environment, which is what my podcast has been about. Is I want, like, I'm cool talking about, Tim, Jim, and Oscar, right? I get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, actually talk about them and not like just reference them.
Yeah.
So I had brain cancer. I had my right brain removed. I had 2 brain surgeries, and they gave me 6 to 8 months to live. After the brain surgeries, they said maybe 12 to 14 months, and this was in 2008.
Yeah.
So what does somebody do, man? Are you wearing pajamas?
Sure. It's like, it's 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it's just because I was like, I should just wear my fucking pajamas for this show.
Exactly.
But I ended up putting on a button-down shirt and my.
No, I have like New York Knicks, hoodie. At least that's
right. And so, when somebody says, all right, so first it was 6 to 8 months, then I had 2 brain surgeries, and they're like, you might live 12. I mean, they were very specific, 12 to 14 months. What do you do? I mean, what do you do? I mean, I guess I could go on a rampage and like start taking heroin or coke, or, I mean, they're like, you're going to die. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in a year, whatever. So I just started writing music, and that whole big band record is either the originals or arrangements of songs I'd, recorded in the past for big band. And then as far as organizing the band, it was kind of like, hey, you guys, I have brain cancer and I want to make this record, and do you want to be a part of it? And I didn't really have any money, bread at the time. And so I was like, if you're up for it, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of music. And so basically I just, for the most part, I mean, I love everybody on the record, don't get me wrong, but it was about saying, hey man, like an old school, like GoFundMe before GoFundMe existed, but with my friends who were willing to donate their time.
Yeah. And
I'm kind of getting emotional about it. And just, be nice enough to, learn my music. That's it.
Yeah.
And, I've gotten a little criticism about the content of the band because it's basically mostly male. And I'm white, and I'm just like, look, man, I just like whoever was willing to help me out. That's all. And I literally every day I woke up, and sometimes several times a day was like, is this it?
Yeah.
Is this it?
Shit. Yeah. That's.
And so when people want to know, that music seems fucking crazy. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
I was fucking crazy. Yeah. I had half my brain removed. They're like, all right, then 60 seconds, we press the timer, and you're going to be dead. Right? Yeah. I'm exaggerating, of course.
No, but I know what you mean. Yeah. Shit.
So for me, that record just encapsulates everything about that time period. I have no idea where that music came from. I was just freaking out, and they told me not to play saxophone, that it might hurt the thing, the stitches, or there were staples, whatever. But I don't know where it comes from, but I know that everybody on that record deserves a Congressional Medal of Honor because they were so nice. And no one ever complained. No one ever said, man, where's my fee, or where's the money? Like no one.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Just beautiful, beautiful people doing beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. It's. I mean, it's good to hear that so many people stepped behind you. That people you probably played with for a long time, and it created personal and musical relationships and bonds, which is, I guess this is what jazz is all about in the end. Almost. I hope. Sometimes it's not, but it should be.
Well, right? I mean, some of those people I met in that project, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let's be specific. Like Brian Drye, who did Hadestown, right? Do you know that musical?
No.
Right, because Broadway's all shut down now. After they won a Grammy for the music. Jeremy Udden, Brian Drye, the trombone player. Jeremy Udden,
Jeremy Udden, I know. Yeah, sure. I have his
second alto player. Kirk Knuffke, and a few of these people I just met during the project.
Oh, that's nice.
How they manifested is up for debate. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of people about this, and I don't know. I'm just so grateful. That's
sure.
That's all I care about.
Yeah,
And
that's important. Yeah.
sure, Trevor Dunn, the bass player I've known for years, and Bill McHenry, of course, Danny Weiss, but Sasha Brown, the guitarist, but a lot of folks just kind of came to
Support you.
Yeah, support me, and maybe looking back when I've talked to some of them, maybe thinking they were saying goodbye, and we'll make this record. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm being dramatic, but there's a film coming out. Everybody can hear the story, but it's like, well, no, but I mean, like when you think about it, if somebody's on their deathbed and they say, "Hey, would you make a last record with me?" You're like, "Sure."
Yeah.
And so, I know it sounds completely insane, but that's where I was at that time. Yeah. I just didn't know if I would make it for another week, or another year, another month. I didn't know.
Sure.
So I was like, what the hell? I'll do a little bleeding, blow like as hard as I can, and write some music that's impossible to play, right? And then not pay everybody and shit. And they're all like, okay, we're down for all that.
You're talking basically about now, like 2020, the situation in jazz now. So it's
Ooh, don't get dark.
No, sorry. Man. No, I'm kidding. No, but speaking about heavy music, man, like I wanted to ask you, how do you like, how do you approach composition in general? Like all those tunes, like, I don't know, gay disco, the 7/4 kind of, it's really, really heavy, and the marching fuckers, the really cool intervals you use, and like, how do you approach a composition, whichever of those two? Like, what's your process when you start writing music? Where does an idea come from, and what's your process?
Great question, Samo. And I literally got a text from Jakob Bro, the Danish guitarist, today about that. Where does music come from? And so I can only talk about context, and I don't know how. I've only seen the Dave Liebman episode of your show, so I don't know that much about it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know about parameters. I'm kind of because of my brain surgeries, I have epilepsy and kind of a form of Tourette's, and so I tend to just shoot straight and go right into it. But gay disco, I mean, I've been to gay disco. As a gay man, I've been to gay discos all over the world. Okay, in Iceland, to East Germany when the wall came down, to Prague, that was an interesting scene. In Russia, in Russia, like to get in the gay bar, you have to knock. A guy slides a little thing open and is like, whatever in Russian. Who are you and who are you with? And so they say something, and then he's like, whoa, and then they let you in, right? And so, but in every one of those places, they play the same fucking song. It's like, and there's like guys making out, girls making out, whatever. It's totally fun, but they play the same fucking song. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna write my own version of that song, like I'll do my thing. And so where did that come from? Maybe it was I don't know, maybe it was a Larry David moment. I wrote it out of spite. Like how are you guys all playing the same song at every gay bar around the world? So I wrote this song, and I have to give Jim Black, my drummer friend, credit, because he's like, it does kind of sound like a gay disco, because I'm not sure that was my first name of the song. I don't know, that'll go down in history, like Jim and I arguing, but I really was just like trying to write something that encapsulated that I'm a gay man, had what I think is the disco feel, and then also Jim Black, who doesn't really like playing in 4/4, so I had to change the meter up to like 7/8, just to kind of get something to do. And what was the other song you asked about?
Like Marching Fuckers?
Oh, Marching Fuckers. All right, that's one. Do you edit these or you just drop and post?
I just usually like try to leave them in whole as a whole. So
All right. I was on tour with Gunther Schuler's, the composer Gunther Schuler's son, George Schuler.
sure, yeah.
And we were in the Midwest somewhere. I don't remember, something Michigan or Wisconsin or something like this, or I don't know, Illinois.
Okay.
And I was in the van, and and I've done this a lot where I'm composing while we're on the road.
Mm.
We were in the tour bus. It was more of a tour bus than a van. And right, I don't mind if I say this, but I don't know if people would mind if I said this.
Hey, go for it, man. I will just wrap it in cellophane paper a little, or not
Right.
even. I don't know. I mean, you know.
At that time, I had a boyfriend, and we were trying to do that thing where you have sex standing up. So I'd have to lift him up, and with a woman, I don't know. I would think it would be easier. Anyway, I did a bunch of
Okay.
interviews, and there's even guys having sex with women, marching around, walking around, standing up. And I'm like, it's not that easy getting your instrument inside of that hole and then holding the person and walking around.
Can imagine.
But then at that time, maybe we weren't texting that much. This would be in the 90s even, I think,
Oh, well,
when I wrote
okay.
that song. And so I just wanted to write a song about how difficult it was
Oh man,
to
that's
be
so
a gay
cool.
man and have sex with your boyfriend standing up and then kind
Oh,
of
man.
walk around for the camera. And I don't know where it came from other than I was just missing my boyfriend and was like, yeah, I should be able to do that, shouldn't I? And so, right. I don't know, either amazing like end to the story or like totally terrible end to the story. But that's where I'm more about the energy of my compositions than the technique. I'm more about the intention and the conscious creation of it than I am about whether it's an A major 7 or a
sure.
minor 7. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not who I am.
Yeah.
So
It's
gay disco. Hey man, I've been in Russia in a disco that played the same music, in Iceland that played the same music in East Berlin.
yeah. They have probably like the USB key, like the seven
No,
tunes.
no,
Like
no, you're too young. This was this is vinyl, and not even vinyl. This is LP or a tape or some shit like that.
Yeah, tapes, exactly.
No, USB. People would be like, "What? Like, what's USB?
Exactly.
Who are the Beatles?" I have a friend who is taught at CUNY University in New York, or no, Queens. CUNY Queens, I think, whatever it is. And he had a student who didn't know who the Beatles were.
Oh man, come on, seriously.
Yeah, but this is
Wow.
you were like saying, "Hey man, the USB stick." I was like, no.
Yeah, no. Okay, yeah.
No. These like in 30 years they'll be like, Zoom? What's Zoom?
Yeah, it's scary.
Nah, it's all right. I mean,
It's all right, yeah, but it's funny. It is funny. Like nowadays, even when I talk to my students, and when you tell them how, at least I still had to transcribe things like on tape, rewind and play, and there was no way of slowing it down. So it's just like the fast lines were just like a blur, and now it's like I played something, and now it's like yeah.
Right, but the great thing is, you didn't know that trick with the cassette tape is if you half pressed play, you could get it to slow down.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
With my Pioneer tape deck when I was a kid, my teacher said if you you're gonna have to press play, but like kind of only half press it, and it'll.
Okay.
It might not be the right octave, right? It might not be the right key, but he goes, it'll slow it down so you can transcribe.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Little trick. It's like the pencil when you used to wind the tape.
Sure.
But it's I don't know. We're off on a tangent, but maybe that's cool with you. But like good times.
No, but it was way more romantic. I mean, in a way, at least, nowadays you just like type in YouTube or wherever, like, I don't know, John Coltrane transcription of whichever song, and it's gonna probably be transcribed, you know, like in PDF, and you'll just, I don't know, it loses it's all. Then I realized that I'm getting older, so.
Well, you know, Samo,
You know,
man,
so.
it's for me, it's like that old joke, like, "Hey, you kids, get off of my lawn," right? You know that joke, right? Or you kids keep it down.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Well,
Kind of
anyway,
the idea, yeah.
in the States and in England, you know, they're gonna understand this. Like, you kids, get off my lawn, or you get off that. You know, stop watching that TV. You're gonna burn your eyes out, right? Or, you know, whatever. Put that smartphone away. It's gonna, you know.
Yeah.
But to me, this is just the next phase, you know, and it's okay. I'm enjoying it, and I'm not trying to be mean. I hope I'm not coming across that way. I'm just like, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it definitely is what it is. Sure, I'm embracing all the technology, man. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, and you're in Slovenia, and I get to talk to you.
Yeah,
and I've interviewed people in Denmark and Norway and, you know, fucking Germany and Japan, and it's like, you know, otherwise they'd have to come to my studio or whatever, and we blah blah blah, which is totally fine. But I'm kind of cool with it.
It's beautiful. Yeah. But Andrew, I just want to go back to some of the stuff you did. Like, I listened yesterday to this track Emilia from what she did with Ted Poor, and I wanted to ask you, how did this collaboration happen? And it's like, it's one of the most gentlest playing I've heard from you. Like, really, it's so lyrical and so beautiful, you know. And how did this thing happen with Ted? Did you know him? I mean, he's from Seattle, right, as well, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a great question, Samo. Thank you for asking that. Two things. One is that one time I'm from Seattle, in case people don't know.
Yeah.
And my family's out there, and I was going out, I don't know, for something, maybe the holidays or Christmas, I don't know Thanksgiving or something. And I emailed Ted, who I had only met once. We did a gig with our friend, the guitar player, Kurt Rosenwinkel, at, I think, the Village Vanguard.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, it was the Vanguard. Yeah, I just talked to Eric Rivas about that, who played bass on the show.
Oh,
and that's how I met Ted. So I just said, "Hey, Ted, I'm coming out to Seattle. You want to do a show?" He's like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm teaching. I don't have a lot of time to rehearse. Let's just blow." I was like, "Great idea." So we do a gig at, do you know the name of that place in Seattle? The Royal Room.
No.
Wayne Horvitz.
Oh, yeah, I know Wayne, yeah.
Right. So anyway, we do this show, and I don't know, maybe there were 30 people there, you know, maybe 50, something like that. It was very last minute, and I didn't really care. I was just in town to see my mom and my brother and my nieces and nephews and stuff. But it was just like, wait, what? That was really fun. And then, I don't know, a few years later, I'm walking down the street here in New York, and Ted calls me. And I pick up my phone. He's like, "Hey, man, you feel like making a record?" And I said, cool. Sure. He goes, "Well, I think I might fly out to New York, and we'll go to Brooklyn Recording. I don't know if you know that studio. Brooklyn Recording, Andy Taub owns it. He's an amazing engineer and just well, he's an incredible human, but I'm going to have him on the podcast because he's such a dick.
Oh, wow.
I want to talk to Andy. And Ted and I went in the studio and recorded for, I think, 2 days or something. And I don't know. I can't even explain what that was like. Was just to get a phone call, say, "Yeah, I'll do it." And Ted's like, "You know, I don't really have any money." And I was like, "Stop there. I'm in. This will be fun." Yeah. But one of the cooler things about that record is Ted's like, "Do you think we should rehearse before we go in the studio?" And I was like, "I don't know." And so Ted came over. I sat literally where I am now, and Ted sat across from me, and we just, Ted sang some melodies, I sang some melodies, maybe I played a little bit, and we're like, that's pretty good, right? We're drinking some wine, red wine, and I was like, I think we got it, right? And then 2 years later, we went back in the studio several times. We had that record, and it's let me just address. I know I'm talking a lot, Samo, but let me just address the whole gentler side. That one person called me when I posted that song, called me Andy D, like Kenny G.
Oh
like
my
they were
God.
trying. One of my old fans, right? Somebody who knows me from the gay disco days.
Okay.
And I'm like, I just don't feel like.
Yeah.
I don't feel like being aggressive. I feel like just like hugging people and being nice. That's all. I just want to be pretty, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
I just want to be pretty, and I want to give you a hug, and I want to give Ted a hug, and I want to give Andy Taub a hug, and Eric Rivas and stuff. I just want to be nice to people.
Yeah.
And so Ted brings that out in me, which is why I think we love each other. But
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, man. It's I love this. It's one of those things. I mean, you have some, like crazy moments as well, but I don't know, just this track for me, it's like I listened to it like a couple of times the other day, and like wow, it's zen-like in a way, and it's beautiful to hear you like that also, it's so cool. I like that.
Thank you, man. You're being so sweet. That's Ted's wife is Amelia, so he wrote it for her.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
And then also for those people who are interested, that the way Ted sang it to me, I can't remember if he played it on piano or sang it to me or how I got, but I was like, do you mind if I interpret, the way it's being played? And obviously in the end, after several times in the studio and edits, and post-production, as we call it, it became what it is. But Ted's like, yeah, I mean, just play it how you hear it, man.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things I love about Ted is there's not a lot of there's not a script. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, both of you such cool players. So it's not nice to hear this happening. So, but
all right, man, universe or God or whatever. I thank you for all the compliments because I really need them right now. I'm kind of down. I really appreciate it, man. Anyway, sorry.
No, man, but I'm such a, besides being a guitarist and a composer, I'm such a music fan. I'm still like always when I'm talking to musicians like you, and it's like I feel like a small kid hearing all these stories. And no, seriously,
and you're not even hearing the whole story. That's the funny thing. Is like you're not hearing like everybody I've interviewed on my show. Like they're like, oh, we can't talk about that, D'Angelo. We can't talk about that. And I was like, great. But that's the shit. I'm like, should we be telling everybody this stuff? But whatever.
Yeah.
No problem.
No, but it's for me at least. I'm like that. I love hearing this stuff because it's just that's what we are and what we do. And I know where tunes come from and how ideas come and how records happen. And it's so nice that you guys share that as well, and you as well also. So that's beautiful. But you mentioned Seattle and Ted, and I want to ask you, do you miss Seattle now since you've been living in New York for 30 years or more?
800 years. Right?
Yeah. Back in the 19th century. Yeah.
All right. A question I've answered a lot, but I don't miss Seattle. And, that bothers my mom because she's like, you should come back and be by me. And I was like, I don't want to live in Seattle. I don't know what your turnaround is, but like extracting, the pandemic. Okay.
Yeah.
Extracting the time.
Yeah, sure.
I think missing something is pointless. It absolutely doesn't do anybody any good. Like, I miss you.
Yeah, sure. No.
What does that do? I miss you, my ex-boyfriend, or I miss you, mom. That doesn't help anybody. You want to do something, go visit them, right? Or get on a call with them, and talk.
Yeah.
And I don't miss Seattle. I do not desire to be in New York any longer. And I don't really have anything negative to say other than until people finish off their business here, meaning their, I don't know how to say it, their lives, then I can't really make that kind of a shift and go to live in Europe. But or Slovenia, yeah, I don't know. That could be cool too. I have no idea. I mean, I've only been a passerby, so I have no idea.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
And with all the protests in Seattle, and stuff, I don't know, man.
No. I know what you mean.
Come on,
Yeah.
Samo, man.
No, but no, okay. But my
I'm
lead.
watching this shit show. Yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you, man, like, because you know, you've been in New York for such a long time, and my question kind of wanted to lead to this: like, how was it for you guys? I mean, or especially for you when you came to New York? When was that? Like early '90s, or?
Oh my God. Okay, everybody.
Or like even earlier,
This guy,
18th century, or?
this guy asks great questions, and I just want everybody to know that these are great questions, and I appreciate it. I moved to New York in 1986. Okay.
Wow, seriously, I didn't know that, man. Wow, I thought it's later. Wow.
No, I moved right after high school, so I went to college for like a year and a half, and then I was like, "Fuck it, I might as well move to New York." And I never forget that my parents said, "Well, we're not helping you. We're not giving you money. You got to get a job." Yeah, old school stuff, right? Like, we're not giving you anything, even though they could have bought me a ticket and sent me off like the next day.
Yeah.
So I got this job, warehouse job at a clothing company, packing boxes or something.
Shit.
And Genera, that was the company. And I saved up like $6,000, and I just flew myself to New York and moved in to this. I was just talking about, have you ever seen The Honeymooners, that show?
Nah, I don't think so. Maybe I did, but yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, somebody
doesn't ring a bell.
this,
Yeah, anyway.
has seen The Honeymooners with that actor, Jackie Gleason.
Okay.
And I had seen that show when I was a kid, but until I moved to New York when I was 20 in 1986 and lived in a tenement building, I was like, oh, that's what they're like. No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. People opening the window. Hey, Harry, what the fuck you doing? Right? Like, I mean, classic. And like, people had their laundry hanging out their window. My bathtub was in my kitchen. And I am not exaggerating. And, you know, somebody would let their dog out and like, you know, Margaret, get your fucking dog back in the house, right? And you're like, oh, right, that's where that show came from. Okay. And there were crack vials all over the street. I lived on Houston and, you know, between Delancey and Houston in Manhattan. My rent was $170 a month.
Wow.
And I would be cooking macaroni and cheese, and my roommate would be taking a bath in the kitchen with no shower curtain. I mean, he's just like, you know, hey man, can I get some of that mac and cheese? I'm like, yeah, okay, well, fine.
Oh my God.
And but it's just you know, in $1.70 back in, you know, 1986 was, you know, I could go to Vanguard, the Village Vanguard all night, or Sweet Basil.
Wow.
Or, what were these places that were around then, like the 55 Bar? Or
You
know, you could literally hang out all night and not have to stress about your bills, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't remember your original question, but I hope I answered something.
No, it's so good. That's amazing. But how was it for you musically, especially, you know, because did you guys, I mean, Jim told me, I think, that you guys first went to Boston, right? No, or?
Let's clear that story up. So I moved to New York. If we're going to talk about Jim Black and Chris Speed, I moved to New York before they were still Seattle boys. Okay. And then Jim and Chris moved to Boston. And as far as musically, I wasn't having a great time. I was 20, and then I turned 21 in New York and 22. And, you know, the jam session scene, and also I really wasn't interested in playing standards anymore. I'd grown up that way, and I was like, I don't really want to play Autumn Leaves anymore or Johnson.
Yeah, sure.
And there's nothing wrong with those
No,
songs.
sure.
I am not dissing anything. But as a youngster, I was like, so I was talking to Jim and Chris, and they were at New England Conservatory and Berkeley School of Music, respectively, and they got an apartment. And I was like, what if I came up there and just hung out? And we, we did something. I don't know, because I liked them. I liked their music, and I don't remember the exact,
timeline or what? Yeah.
Timeline or whatever. I mean, I kind of do, but I remember. I can't tell that story, but we had one mattress that Jim, Chris, and I all slept on.
Oh man! Wow.
In an apartment in Boston. We were broke, we were kids, and we would just drink beer until we were tired, and then the three of us would sleep diagonally, horizontally on the mattress. In the screen here, it'd be like this.
Yeah.
And no, folks, we weren't having sex or anything, but it was like we had one mattress, or it was a futon, and we shared this tiny little apartment. But we just wanted to make music together. So that would have been 1989. That's when I moved up there, and then we started. And then a few years later, we made the Human Feel.
Yeah. So speaking of Human Feel, I asked Jim that, and I wanted to ask you, you did the last record Gold for Intact, right? How does it still feel, or did it feel for you guys? If you compare, when you did the early stuff in the early 90s or even before, and now, since you're, I guess, 25 years more mature musically and personally.
Elderly.
Elderly, yeah. Now you're
Nice way of saying it, fucking asshole. Now that you're more mature, all right, we're old.
Well, how did it feel for you guys? How is it if you compare musically, especially?
I can't tell you, how amazing it feels to make music with people that you've known for that long.
Yeah.
And how beautiful it is. But also on the other side, let's be real, there's some shit that is not great, and there's some anger issues, certainly from me. But it's like, oh, I don't even have to tell these guys anything about a song I bring in. If I bring in a song, they're already playing it.
Yeah, sure.
Like Kurt Rosenwinkel is just like, oh yeah, I got it. Chris Speed, Jim Black, they're just like, yeah, I got it, right?
Yeah.
And that is just I mean, I don't know how many people get to experience that in their musical life.
Yeah.
Hey, that record Gold, by the way, all of that music was kind of just brought in.
Yeah.
Right. I guess there was a couple of songs we already knew, but we're just reading, and like this conversation, we're just doing it in the moment.
Yeah.
But I feel, at least from my end, especially with Jim Black, Chris Speed, I know that they can completely understand where I'm coming from, and nail it. And also Kurt, but I only knew Kurt since he was 17 or something. I didn't know Kurt as a kid.
Yeah.
I knew Jim and Chris as kids, but
wow. That's amazing.
I don't know, maybe a couple that's been married for 30 years can understand, he just knows what I want.
Yeah,
also,
sure.
He kind of pisses me off too.
Yeah, sure.
I love him, but I hate him. I like a little bit of both.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. No, but speaking of all these guys, especially with Chris, both with Jim, with Chris, you play with Eric Friedlander and all these guys. I love those bands with Drew Grass, and that's such amazing records, those three. But I wanted to ask you the 90s, musically. So then you returned from Boston to New York, and how was the music scene then? I mean, there was a huge movement happening, I think, in the 90s. creative wise in New York. I don't know how do you see that? Like, how was it for you, like, to establish yourself in the scene musically when you returned from Boston to New York?
Samo, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Because you're doing an amazing job. Do you write this stuff down, or is this all just up in your head and you're thinking about it?
Well, yeah, I have like a sheet of paper that I usually like think of the things. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That makes me feel better because I'm like, how is the fuck is he asking these amazing questions?
No, yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not. I'm. What's that thing? I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt or whatever that old-fashioned saying is. I just am like, okay, great question. Hey, you know what I was doing? And a lot of people, we were skirting.
Yeah,
we were literally like, I went back to New York, and we were just doing stuff. We were doing gigs. We were doing shows. We were having parties. At one point, it was Jim Black, Chris Speed, Ben Street, Kurt Rosenwinkel, Hilmar Jensen, Dylan Keefe, Andrew D'Angelo. I mean, we're all fucking living in the same house.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, and so what do you think was happening? Like, we were rotating in the basement practicing.
Yeah.
And then I would stay up all night, and I would stay up all night doing stuff, whatever people want to imagine there. But I'd be writing and composing music, like Marching Fuckers or Gay Disco or whatever I was writing. And then my friends would wake up and I was like, man, I wrote this new song, man. You want to check it out? And they're like, let me have coffee first, man. You've been up all night. I was like, yeah. But so, like, as far as observing from the outside, like, you know, what was the scene like? I don't know.
Yeah.
We were the scene.
You were the scene. Yeah. Sure.
And everybody called us the musician house or something like this because all we did all day, like, was Ben Street was practicing, or Kurt Rosenwinkel was practicing, or I was practicing, or Chris Speed was practicing, or Jim Black was practicing, or the neighbor was coming over and saying, you kids, keep it down in there. What are you doing? Right? And
speaking of you guys creating the scene, I wanted to ask you, like, this one question, man. Like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Andrew.
I did not say we created the scene.
No,
I
no.
said that we were...
No, you were
embedded in the scene.
But you were creating the scene as well. You know, at least from my point of view.
Okay, if you want to give us, if you want to give us that, that's fine. But my point is, I don't fucking know. We were just like partying and writing music. I have no idea.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Yeah, sure. But no, I wanted to ask you this: like, when was the moment you said, you know, you have the trio now with Trevor and Jim, and when was the moment you decided to become a band leader? When was that point that you said, like, okay, I want to make an album? And
are you there? I don't know if you froze. Or if you
I froze. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
When I was in high school, Chris Speed, Jim Black, and myself, and several other people were part of this thing called HB and Company, which was a big band. We played, you know, weddings and parties, and, you know, we were teenagers that our leader, Fred Radke, used to play with Harry James, and nobody's gonna know who Harry James is. So how do we just, Harry James was a big band leader from
the 16th century. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only way.
So it's either Mozart or like, you know, or like, you know, like Madonna. Like there's
exactly,
in between. Everybody was like, all right, I don't know.
Exactly.
And we found out that this guy who was running this kid big band for these parties was making bank. I mean, he was charging like $15K for these gigs and paying us $20.
Oh.
And anyway, I think it was Chris Speed and a few other people. Stephen Cahill, who's now he just did Brooklyn Babylon with De Niro, and we figured out, like, we're kind of getting hosed here. So I started my own dance band, and we used to rehearse in my garage. And my mom, who has dementia, still remembers that for some reason. She goes, I remember I used to play with that big band in the garage. You know, it was like a garage band, but we'd play, you know, or like you know, Tuxedo Junction, or, you know, in the movie. Yeah, right, something. And I like being in front. I don't know. I just like being in front. And then, you know, right, 15, 20 years of struggle, I remembered, oh, I like being in front. And so then it really was just a matter of that. Like, you know, like my friend saying, dude, you're really good, you know, leading the marching band, or you know, what, running the country, or running your state, or whatever, you know, be the governor. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, you just get, right? Don't we just get lost a little bit sometimes? And it's okay.
Yeah, sure.
We just get a little like sidetracked with shit, and, you know, like life and money. And like, I got to pay my bills. If I make a record, it's going to cost me 10 grand, and I have $10 in my bank account. Yeah. Right. And by the way, I'm not being negative. That's just the truth.
Yeah, sure.
So it like sometimes we understand that, all right, I kind of want to be the, you know, the leader, but it doesn't mean that I'm actually going to make more. It might. I mean, in my case, it certainly has turned out that way, and I'm very blessed. But I would say from age 25 to 35, 40, whatever, I was just like, how the fuck do I make this happen? And then, thank God, I just want to say thank you to Chris Speed, who's like, dude, I'm starting this label. Yeah. Would you make a record with your trio? I would love it. And Chris is just so supportive and loving, and was so beautiful. And in fact, I'm selling that record like crazy. I don't know what he's doing, if he's doing a yard sale or something, but I'm like, he keeps texting me. He's like, dude, I just sold another one of your records. Here's the money. I'm like, what? I mean, thank you. Right?
That's so cool. Yeah.
But did that answer your question? I don't know if that answered your question.
But yeah, sure. But it's... Yeah, my question also, if I further put it, like, what in your eyes makes a good band leader? I mean, you played with so many amazing musicians. I mean, I want to ask you about these a little also, but like, you know, what in your eyes makes a good band leader? Or how would you describe yourself as a band leader? Like, I would probably have to ask guys who play with you in your bands, but...
I'm sure you've already done that. I'm sure Jim Black has told you exactly what kind of band leader I am. No, don't try to fool me, man.
I added it out, you know, from.
I think that's an unfair. It's a great question, but it's unfair because everybody's different. You take notes, right? And you have notes about what you want to talk to your guest about. Yeah. That's fair. I like to improvise. I like to see what comes up in my conversations. And have I gotten caught with my pants down? Yes. So what makes a good band leader? I just think that somebody's having a good time at it. That's it. Yeah. And is not being a complete, all right, in this day and age, we're in 2020, whatever, a dick, a cunt, an asshole. You know, as long as somebody's not being one of those things. Yeah, sure. Then, I mean, I actually enjoy all of those, so I don't think they're insults, but I'm like, I don't know. I just know that I like playing the melody in music. I like being the quote-unquote leader. But by the way, Samo, you know very well that it's not the person leading that runs the show. You know that. It's Trevor Dunn. It's Jim Black. It's Chris Speed. Sure. Yeah. They are the ones running the show. And they're all leaders in their own right. But I mean, I'm just like, what? Like, I'm like the president of some country where everybody thinks, you're in charge. No, I'm not.
Well, you know what I'm like, being a band leader in a sense that, you know, I don't know, you go on a tour and you're the one responsible. Like.
I hate that shit.
When you know this, everyone is asking you when the sound check is, when the plane leaves,
right.
So that's what the pros and cons. What I'm aiming here at. Like also, you get to play your own music with amazing musicians, but then you have all these other things, which in a way are sometimes really.
Let's can I circulate that around to an earlier
Sure.
question you asked me?
Sure.
With my big band, for the record, there's about 23 people involved. But my touring, when I went on tour with my big band, it was I pared it down to 13.
Oh,
Okay?
that's still amazing.
Right. And so anyway, the venue said we need copies of all the passports of your band, so that we can pay you and do the VAT and taxes and all that stuff. And I got it to them within a day, because I told my band, I was like, I need a copy of your passport. Boom, all 13 people got back.
Yeah, okay.
And they're like, wait, what? How did you? I was like, I don't know. So this Danish student, yeah. Again, we just have to erase 2020. So it was like a year ago, but 2019. And this Danish student said, man, Mr. D'Angelo, I'm trying to get a big band together, and I can't get anybody to rehearse, or like I can't figure out, how did you do it? So I went and searched my email for that tour that I took my big band on, and there was 589 emails for that tour. And so I told my student, I was like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, persistence, or the fact that, that maybe I just like didn't really think about it when I was doing it. And when it says 589 on Gmail, I don't think that includes responses, right? So within that, there was probably some back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Like, can you do Tuesday at 1:30? No, but I can do Tuesday at 2. Can you do Thursday at 4? No, but I can do Thursday at 5, right? And like multiplied by 13 people. I'm like, but I think to be honest, I'm just like, don't think about it, just do.
Yeah, sure.
I have no idea. I have no idea how I did that. And when I did the search and I saw the 589 emails, I was like, oh yeah, there's something. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, man. I don't know how I did it. I wish I could write it down in a book or something. Like, I don't know if you know Darcy, but it's just
sure.
I wish I could do what he does and just be really articulate about it. But I'm just like, I just had a goal. I wanted to take my band to Europe and go on tour, and we had to rehearse, and I had to get the passports, and I have no idea. How does that happen?
Yeah,
I didn't take notes. I don't have a schedule. It's not on my calendar. It's just something I did.
Wow. Yeah,
it's not better or worse than anything else. It just
it worked out. Yeah, that's amazing.
It worked out.
In the end, that's it.
Andrew, it worked out. It's no problem. It's like, how to go with the brain cancer. It worked out. It's no problem.
That's like a Seinfeld line there.
Yeah, totally. How to go with the brain cancer. It worked. Yeah, it worked out. It worked out. No problem. No, it's so good. You're so good, man. It's like, I want to call my podcast "It Worked Out." How'd the brain cancer thing go? It worked out.
How did the last elections go? It worked out.
It worked out.
Yes.
Yeah, it worked out. I mean, yeah, but didn't like people like riot at the Capitol? Nah, it worked out. It's all good. Well, I mean, it's one of those things where you want to write something off, right? And it's just like, that's what I want to do. Like, I have no idea until my student asked me, how did you get your big band together, man? And then I was like, you know what? I don't know, but let me do a search. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, I sent, probably, I said 589, but, with the interactions, probably 1,000. Sure. And I was like, but I have no idea. It just worked out. That's so good. Oh my God, we got to vamp that shit. How'd the podcast go with Samo? It worked out.
It's worked out.
Yeah.
I think there's a pilot here, man. That's it. It's oh, oh Jesus.
You know, like, how'd that marriage go, man? Yeah, it worked out. You know, we're divorced, but you know, it worked out.
It worked out.
Right. You got to call this. It worked. It worked out.
Yeah, that's the new one. No, I just wanted to ask you also this, Andrew. Like, you mentioned Europe and bringing the orchestra to Europe. Do you remember your first European tour? Like,
okay, did you talk to
who you did it with?
Did you talk to Chris Speed or Jim Black about this already?
No, I haven't spoken. I've spoken only to Jim, and Jim told me about that he lived with Chris in Nuremberg, I think he said, like somewhere.
Right. So before that, when Chris Speed and let me just tell you something, Samo, that I am doing my best not to alienate people. So I want people to understand who we're talking about, okay? And I think I mentioned that earlier. And it's really important because our world, in our jazz world, improv world, whatever you call it, free jazz, whatever we're doing, is so insular. So in 1985, Chris Speed, who was at that time playing tenor saxophone as well as clarinet, and then myself, and I only played alto saxophone, got auditioned and got chosen to be with this big band called Jazz Abroad. And it was like this national big band, blah, 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 blah. Good fucking thing. But Chris and I could play big band charts very well, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole idea is we go to Europe for 2 weeks. And again, I was 18 and Chris was 16.
Wow.
And I only remember that, and I jokingly, when I interviewed Chris Speed on my podcast, we joked about it because he couldn't legally drink in Europe when we went on tour, but I could because I was 18. But anyway, we went on tour for 2 weeks in Europe. We played in Austria. There's some great old school photos from just these crazy shows that were like, you know, these Europeans like, oh my God, these kids, you know, they sound pretty good, man. And I'll never forget hanging out. I'm 18. I'm in Europe for the first time because my parents, I had never traveled to Europe before that. And we were hanging out in Austria, and this couple, you know, husband and wife, had offered to invite a few of us over for some, you know, as people do where you are. I mean, Americans aren't so into that, but in Europe, they're like, yeah, you want to come over for some wine and cheese?
Yeah,
and like,
sure.
And we were like, should we do it? I mean, are they going to rape us or something? I'm like, no, you can do it. Our chaperones were like, go ahead.
It would work out eventually, man. So.
Yeah, but then, man, they're giving you this beer. Oh, maybe it was Germany. No, it was Austria, but this beer mug, right? Like this big. Yeah, exactly. And we're kids, and we're like, okay. And then they're like, you want some cheese or, you know, some bread? And we're like, yeah. And then I remember saying to Chris, I'll never forget. I looked at him. I said, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Oh, well.
I want to go and I want to play music and have this and of course then, even at 18, as I was, I mean, we were tired, right? And we were disoriented and jet lagged, but here we are in somebody's backyard and they're serving you, you know, like this.
Yeah.
And alcohol aside, I was like, I never want to not do this again. You know, it was just such an, but professionally, we didn't get paid for that trip. Professionally, I think you're talking about the Bobby Previtt tour I did when I was like 25 or 26 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
which is also fun, right? You're more interested in that. For me, it was
No,
more
I'm interested in everything, man.
I toured with Bobby Previtt, Jamie Saft, the keyboard player. Who else was in that band? Kung Vu, the trumpet player, Dick, and I hope Kung hears that. And Andy, what's his name? Anyway, and that was my first pro European tour, and so that was maybe 96.
Yeah, wow.
95. I'm not really sure. I don't.
That's record closer to the pole, or how is it called, right? Yeah.
It's called Too Close to the Pole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what that is? I don't think a lot of people know what that means. Do you know what that means?
No.
There's Bobby Previtt, the drummer, is really into horse racing. So there's track fast, weather clear. Which is
exactly. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then too close to the pole means that the horse and the jockey are too close to, I think, the rail, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And then there's one for the track being wet, which I don't remember what that term, but there was track fast, weather clear.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That means you bet on the fastest horse because they have there's no pushback. Like they're just going to kick ass and they're going to. By the way, that shit's all fixed now, everybody. But anyhow, at some point, maybe it was, actually real.
Yeah.
But that was my first real European tour where I got paid
and everything. Yeah.
Andy, what is his name? The tenor player, baritone player.
Andy Laster.
Andy Laster.
Yeah. Oh, I love his stuff, man. Yeah.
No, he's great.
Yeah.
And it was just those tours. We did several with Bobby Previtt, and they were so fun. And we would play cards in the train and just hang out and have fun. And the money wasn't great, but when you're 26 or 25,
it's cool. Yeah,
think about it. It doesn't really matter. You're just having fun. But the first tour I did was '85. Chris Speed and I, and several other people who you might not know who have gone on to fame. Stephen Cahill, Charlie Marcus, and who did Brooklyn Babylon, as I mentioned earlier. I think that's the name of the Broadway show. We went on the road in Europe, and it was just,
yeah, sure.
when was the first time you came to the States, Samo?
Oh, I was 19. Yeah, I was.
Same, right? Like same kind of thing.
Crazy, yeah.
You're crazy? What do you mean?
No, I was crazy as well. It was crazy. It's a culture shocking experience. Like for me, growing up in Yugoslavia, like Eastern Bloc in a way, where you have like 2 yogurts as a kid, like fruit or normal. Then coming to New York, like as a jazz musician, young jazz guy, seeing that there's like every evening, I don't know, 80 jazz concerts going on. So it's
right.
So it's, and all the choice you have and everything. So that was for me just like, what? So I guess similar as you, but from a different angle, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, a lot of my friends who visit me, obviously pre-COVID from Europe, always freak out. They're like, what show should we go see tonight?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know. There's like 8,000 to choose from. Like, which one do you want to go see? And then they're like, I don't know. Let's have dinner first, and then we go maybe to Chinese food or something like that, or get a burger, and you get a huge plate of food. I think that's like very American. It's just like there's a lot of everything. Is that fair, or is that not fair?
Yeah, I would. In Slovenia we have you have like fine dining, like the most criterion, like normal, typical Slovenian restaurants would have huge portions.
No, but I have to clarify that ox stew I told you about earlier.
Yeah.
I swear to God, it was like an entire pot that they brought me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, sure. It's like.
And he's like, "It's good for you. It's good for you. No problem." I mean, you don't talk like that, but I'm just like, my stupid accent. But he's like, "It's good," and I was like, "How the fuck am I gonna eat all this?"
Yeah, sure.
So you're right, but it's.
No, but I know what you mean. Yeah. No. Quite cool, man. Oh, super. Thanks, Andrew. So for all these stories, man, like the good stuff.
You haven't even heard half of the stories.
Yeah,
I
I can
can't tell you
imagine.
the real part of the stories because it's problematic.
Yeah,
But the reality is that it is what it is, and I understand that we all want people to be a part of what we're doing now, and that's important.
yeah.
And like, why don't people like improvised music or jazz, or maybe if they just heard a little bit about the people that are making it, maybe it might change their opinion. You know?
No, but I'm, that's I totally agree with you. It's like, when I talk to my students, it's they hear of, let's say, guitar world, or even saxophone. They talk about, Kurt Rosenwinkel, Mark Turner. They're amazing players, all of them. I love, all of their work. But then there is so much other, all of you guys who've done so much and written so much, who should be equally there. And that's, why I love doing these talks with all of you guys who've done so much and contributed so much to the scene, actually. And it's really important that this is somehow registered, at least for me. I don't know, being a music lover and a musician myself. So, my list of musicians who I love is just like
Right.
6 zillion.
Yeah, and me too, by the way, man. I'm realizing, via doing my podcast, I realize that we have to sign off. But like doing my
Yeah,
podcast, I realize that my list of musicians that I admire is long.
yeah,
And so it's the same with me. Like I'm literally, after this, I'm going to call a friend of mine and ask him to be on my show. Right? I'm in the same position, but I can't. I've tried to do it as you did, like via text or email.
yeah,
It doesn't translate. I have to call them and say, "Hey, man,
sure.
what's going on?" But I'm like realizing, holy shit, there's a lot of people I admire
Yeah,
and would love to talk to.
yeah,
You know, it
yeah.
doesn't end. I think even
No,
uh, Gordon Ramsay has people he admires, or whatever, or
sure,
Bjork. All these people.
sure.
Anyway, thank you for having me on your show, man. I
Thanks so
really
much.
appreciate it. Love
Thank
you,
you,
and
Andrew.
thanks for not changing out of your pajamas, man. I mean, I appreciate the effort. No,
Thanks so much,
seriously.
man.
Dr. Jazz.